Hi. Do you have the shoulds? Feeling guilty for something you should have done, you should be able to do. Somebody guilting you and saying you should do this, you should do that. Yeah, or you feeling like you should do something that you absolutely dread. You might be like my client to say, I don't know what I should do. There is this internal set of rules that is pushing these shoulds. And in my book, it's a disease. And you aren't alone, which is why I started this channel, because I have the cure. Welcome to Kitchen Table Shrink. I'm Carrie, and I have been a not your usual psychotherapist for years and years now. This channel is about sharing mental health skills, tools, hacks, whatever, good ideas to ordinary people with ordinary people in a fun and lighthearted way. And you can see I have a sense of humor, and I call a spade a spade. So let's get on with it. Shoulds are essentially internal rules that we've made for ourselves or just accepted as they came down to us and never questioned. We never questioned them in the past. And they usually come from our parents, from our childhood and our upbringing. But that doesn't matter very much, in my opinion, because it doesn't help us right now. You are living today with today's circumstances, today's priorities, the things and the values, stuff that matters to you now, the circumstances that you have in your life now, today, not back then. You don't need parental guidance, in your middle age. So I am personally giving you my permission, for whatever it's worth, to question those shoulds. Absolutely question till the cows come home. And the way to do this is actually quite simple. It's very simple. It's so simple that two things will happen. First, you won't believe me, and I ask you to keep on following to see where I'm going. And secondly, is you'll really look at these shoulds, these internal rules, in a very different way and feel better. So here's an example. A friend of mine has a sister who lives airplane distance away. She'd have to fly. And she tells me that her sister is in the hospital. And she said, I feel like I should go and see her. And then she tells me, but, when we were young, when we're kids, when we're growing up, even as adults, when I needed this, she wasn't there for me. She even told me she was a mooch, the sister. So the kicker basically for me was when she said to me that she had invited her sister for a drink at the local bar when they were living near each other, and for her birthday, which is just a nice thing to do for her sister for her birthday, even though it doesn't sound like this was much of a relationship, certainly close. She said, "Oh, can so and so and so and so come?" So my friend says, "Yeah, yeah, sure. Let's come more people." And then in a few more days, it was a lot more people, and then it was a whole lunch, a whole meal. At some point, my friend called her on it, and she said, "Oh, but you promised to take me out for lunch on my birthday." I had to be blunt with my friend. I had that to say. I had to tell her that's gaslighting. But the gaslighting thing, that's a video for another time. But for right now, you see where she's going with this. She doesn't have a relationship that, to my mind, would say, "Oh yeah, run, get airplane, fly 2, 3 hours, and go to the hospital see her because she's your sister." But then the most important part to her was that she said, "I know my mother would want me to," and she feels like her mother's sitting right on her shoulder. And that's sweet, that's touching. Um, but that was the thing that kept her following the rule, right? She's got the two rules going. Whether you do or you don't follow the should in your head. Is if you don't, you feel guilty. That's the whole point of the should. And if you do do the thing, you feel minimized. You feel like you don't matter. Your feelings, your needs, whatever don't matter. And that's because that's what you're doing. You're reinforcing the old lesson that you matter less than, in this case, the sister. That's how I read it. Anyway, so when my clients say to me, "Oh, I should have," and "I should have been," or "I should have known," or "I should have whatever," I say, why? Who made that rule? Right? The answer is basically we do it to ourselves. You did it to yourself. My friend did it to herself because she just accepted this rule and never questioned it. What I'm doing right now is asking you to think about that. That rule behind that should. Where'd it come from? Does it fit my life now? My values, maybe I've got 52 children in Albuquerque and it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Whatever your values and situation is. Who made the rule? And basically, in her case, my friend's case, it was I should take care of my sister for my mother's sake. She would want me to. And that relies on the rule of if my mother told me to, I should. That's what I do. But again, you're not 5, you're not 12, you're not a kid. You're in a place where you should be making decisions on your own based on what matters to you, what your needs are. I'm not saying do not ever follow a should. What I'm saying is make a choice, a conscious choice. Take control of these rules that are in your head, they're yours. Now, in my friend's case, I point out, to her that the rule is because I said so and a bit like because you want me to. Well, my friend tells me that she was very close to her mom, wanted to be like her mom, revered her mom, really had um, deeply valued what her mom said, which is no wonder, why it got so solidly um, turned into a rule and a should in her heart. So she has all kinds of responses to that rule. It might be, yes, I want to honor my mother's love for me and my sister, despite our flaws, and go visit my sister in the hospital. And so the response, the should, is yes, I'll do it. And then the feeling that your own needs are being minimized kind of goes away. It could also be, well, my mother would want me to because we're talking about her daughter, her baby at one time. But my sister's not my baby. She's not my daughter. We don't have that kind of closeness. I am not my mother. I'm sorry my mother's gone and can't be there for my sister, but I'm not my mom. And so she doesn't go to the hospital. And that's equally valid because it is a plane right away. It might be another option, something like she decides that she's going to go because knowing herself, she'll always feel like she let herself down if she doesn't do it. Again, valid. It's a choice she can make. Any of those 3 options, any reason, but she's thinking about why she's actually doing it. What are her priorities? What are her needs in this today moment, this now? So the next question then says, well, how do I make this right choice for myself? Fair enough. Fair enough. How how do I know? How do I figure out what the right choice is for me? I'm going to replace the word should with want to or wish. So, so my friends revisited um, um, thought might be, I want to go and visit my sister for my mother's sake. And then you could say, is that true? Yeah, yeah, that's true. Off she goes. She takes the airplane. This is especially hard for women to ask themselves and honor the answer. What do I want? Because we're all about what we should do. We're taught very young what we should do. Men have this too. I'm just saying it's a biggie for women. And I'm going to, or we'll have time, you see this, I'm going to make a video all about self-care, about the fear of being selfish. I want you to try it. I want you to think about a should. Sometime recently, maybe the thing that compelled you to click on this video, to say to yourself, okay, what was the most recent time I said to myself, I should? I should send my mother a card. I should call my mother. I should bake a cake for the PTA. I don't know what the should is because it's your should. But think about what kind of should has been rolling around in your brain cells recently. Whatever. Okay. So while you're thinking, ruminating about that, I'm going to give you another example. A little bit more complicated one. This one. My ex, I'm divorced. My ex was always complaining that his mother was guilting him about never visiting her. He hated going, and when he went, she treated him like her personal slave. And so, of course, no surprise, he put it off and procrastinated about this as long as possible. And so it was always awfuler when he did go, but he always had this nagging background feeling like, oh, she should go see my mother. We can look at the rules a bit. Look at the rules in his head. Um, that um, he should go and see his mother. He should see his mother often, and he's a bad person for not going and seeing his mom. So if he changes out the word should for want and says, I want to go visit my mother, it's just an outright lie for him. I don't want to go and see my mother. So what's the rule? Why don't you put that in the comment? Why don't you see if you can't figure out what the rule of rules that my ex was going by when he said I should go visit my mom? Okay. Another example. I had a client who continued to feel guilty. She'd say, I feel bad. She meant guilty. That years and years ago, her father-in-law one evening, wouldn't let her leave the house and sort of force the family to stay overnight, even though she wishes she had. She felt like the father-in-law was being controlling, abusive, and she wanted to get out of there. But she didn't. She ended up staying. And she says to me, many, many years later, and this was a couple of years later from now, but she said, I should have left. I should have been able to protect them. The first rule was that as a mom, it was her job to protect her children. And that led to the rule that then you blame yourself. So she was in the wrong for staying because he told them to. And then the next rule was for her to take the blame. When you think about that, really, he forced them to stay, he made a big stink about it. And so she acquiesced. So there's a parenting rule, a listening to elders rule. There's all kinds of rules going on in there. So look at those rules. Anyway, she can't undo the past, but she can choose to continue to blame herself as the rule demands, or she can say, wait a minute, yes, that happened. Yes, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish that things had been that I felt confident enough to take my children and go, but they weren't. Okay, that's how life throws things at us. But she doesn't have to continue to blame herself. She can let it go. Let's look at how she might have rewritten her shoulds to woulds or wants. Um, I should have left can be I wanted to leave or I wish I had left. And I should have been able to go. I wish I had been able to protect her. Could be I wish I had protected her. I wanted to have been able to protect her. And she can do this, decide that her father-in-law, as I think, was to blame, not her. Not, I mean, her choice, yes, but the circumstances um, were such that she felt coerced, and that was not on her. And the rule shouldn't be if somebody, in authority coerces you to do something, feel bad for it the rest of your life. I don't like that kind of rule. I don't see how that suits and fits her current needs, her current priorities, her current values, her current life. That's what I'm saying. And she can choose to say, and it was not my fault, and it's not on me that we had that bad situation I had to sort of scramble out of and I didn't do it as well as I would have liked, and it's gone. It's long gone. Nothing I can do to change it. I want you again to think about some of those shoulds in your own life. What's the rule that's going on? Where does it come from? How does it fit or not fit with your current priorities and your values? What I want you to do is write them down in the comments. Rewrite them in the comments. See if it works. See if it works on paper at home. I mean, that's just good for that's a good exercise for you in general. But I'd love to hear what you've got to say. And if you have a question about it, please feel free to ask me because I may not have been as clear as I think I was. No, couldn't be. Anyway, so that's all for today. And if this has been helpful at all, please do the subscribe thing and the like and the buttons that blink in the night. But let me quickly review. Here's the cure for the shoulds. Figure out what rule is behind it, whether or not it makes sense in the here and now, and replace the should with wish or want, and see how you feel after it. See if it makes any sense. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.